morning. I'm Maiki Oreta, and you're watching Business 360, where we break down the numbers, connect the dots, and give you the developments and the insights you need to navigate, adapt, and lead. Let's dive right in. Senate President Chiz Escudero sounds the alarm. Is the Philippines missing out on billions from its mining sector? Bridge collapses across the country. Lawmakers demand answers before the next disaster strikes. Trade tensions escalate. President Trump confirms 25% tariffs on Mexico and Canada starting Tuesday. How will this impact global business? All that and more coming up. First, let's take a look at how financial markets performed overnight. Wall Street tumbled Monday after President Donald Trump confirmed 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico, adding pressure to global markets. The S&P 500 and the Dow Jones Industrial Average fell sharply as investors worried about rising trade costs and supply chain disruptions. Meanwhile, the latest ISM data shows U.S. manufacturing slowing, with the Purchasing Managers Index dropping to 50.3 from 50.9 in January, signaling weakening business confidence. Analysts warn that escalating trade tensions could also weigh on economic growth and on corporate profits in the coming months. The Dow Jones Industrial Average lost 1.5%, the S&P 500 down by 1.76%, while the Nasdaq lower by 2.64% rather. European markets are up, with the UK's FTSE gaining 0.7%. Germany's DAX also up by 2.6%, while France's CAC 40 higher by 1.1%. Here at home, Senate President Chiz Escudero expresses frustration over the underperformance of the country's mining sector, saying its full economic potential remains untapped. Hannah T. has the details.
The Philippines is rich in mineral resources, but Senate President Chiz Escudero says the country is not maximizing its potential. During a hearing of the Senate Committee on Environment, Natural Resources and Climate Change, Escudero questioned why many mining permits remain inactive. Despite the country's wealth in minerals, the mining sector contributes less than 1% to GDP, standing at only 0.7%.
Discretion always equals corruption para sa akin. Kaya hiniling ko sa DNR, tanggalin yung areas of discretion kaugnay nito.
45 out of 150 exploration permits are active and valid. 105 remain inactive. The committee has yet to summon mining companies, but initial findings reveal that only a small portion of approved exploration permits are being utilized. An exploration permit allows companies to survey an area for mineral potential before actual mining operations begin. When it comes to mineral production sharing agreements, or MPSAs, which allow mining operations in exchange for a revenue share with the government, the numbers are similar. 248 out of 378 MPSAs are active. 130 remain unused. Escudero says this delays economic gains from mining, including government revenue and job creation. He reminds companies that mineral resources belong to the state, not private entities.
Pues sorry, hindi nila pribadong pagmamayari yan. That is owned by the state. Under the Constitution, all mineral deposits are owned by the state.
Escudero wants the DNR to review its regulations. He says legislation is not needed. A department order or memorandum circular would be enough to fix the issue.
You are correct. The proper regulations are required, and this is going to be the start of reviewing all our regulations, followed by imposing technical expertise on the ground.
The Senate committee will resume its investigation in April. Hannah T., Bilyonaryo News Channel.
The Philippine manufacturing sector expands at its slowest pace in 11 months, with the Purchasing Managers Index, or PMI, dropping to 51 in February. The PMI reading below 50 indicates contraction, while anything above 50 signals expansion. Data from S&P Global shows February's PMI slipped from 52.3 in January, marking the lowest level since March 2024's 50.9. S&P attributes the slowdown to weaker expansion in output and new orders, suggesting that the sector's momentum from 2024 is waning. This raises concerns about industrial activity and business confidence. A weaker manufacturing sector could impact jobs, exports, and economic growth, especially if global demand remains uncertain. The Department of Energy warns that surging electricity demand in 2025 could strain the power grid, driven by extreme heat and increasing energy consumption. Energy Secretary Rafael Lotilla projects peak demand to reach nearly 15,000 megawatts in Luzon, over 3,000 megawatts in the Visayas, and almost 3,000 megawatts in Mindanao, levels higher than last year's peak. For businesses, this means a greater risk of power supply disruptions and price volatility in the wholesale electricity market, which could drive up operating costs. Industries reliant on stable power, including manufacturing, tech, and retail, may need to prepare for possible interruptions. Lotilla urges companies and households to practice energy conservation, as unmanned demand could impact grid stability and business continuity. Authorities seized 19 containers of smuggled fish worth over 200 million pesos at Manila's South Port, declared as frozen processed food from China. Sujin Kim has the details.
The Bureau of Customs intercepted 19 containers of smuggled fish worth over 200 million pesos at Manila's South Port Harbor. The shipment, declared as frozen processed food from China, was supposed to contain products like taro balls and cuttlefish-flavored balls. But upon inspection, authorities found only mackerel and galunggong, a clear case of misdeclaration and smuggling.
Talagang mga fish products talaga siya, and it's not within the purview of the Food and Drug Administration. Pinag-uusapan natin dito is yung paglabag doon sa normal process natin. Binabypass po yung proseso ng atin ng gobyerno. At pag ganito po kasi nangyayari, isang tantamount also to problema sa ekonomiya ng bansa natin.
Without proper clearance, the government cannot guarantee the safety of these fish, which could pose health risks if they reach the market.
Tandaan nyo, dumating po yan nang hindi dumaan sa tamang proseso, hindi nakapag-secure ng mga permits. We are not sure kung safe yung mga isda na ito.
Agriculture Secretary Francisco Tiu Laurel warned that smugglers not only flood the market with unregulated products, but also manipulate prices to maximize profits.
Kung nakalusot ito, then pupunta sa merkado, malamang yung smugglers hindi na nila ibababa yung presyo Dahil they will try to make maximum profits for their risk di ba? So walang pakinabang to sa lahat.
The shipment was consigned to two companies, Stradava Household Products and Fendi Consumer Goods Trading, both registered at the same address in Binondo, Manila. The administration has vowed to crack down on agricultural smuggling under the Anti-Agricultural Economic Sabotage Act, warning perpetrators of legal consequences.
Talagang hahabulin namin ng Bureau of Customs at ng FDA itong mga perpetrators na to at we'll bring them to justice.
Meanwhile, fish prices are expected to drop by mid to late March as the fishing season begins. Sujin Kim, Bilyonaryo News Channel.
The Israel-Hamas conflict sends shockwaves across the world, disrupting energy markets, heightening security risks, and impacting global economies. But for the Philippines, the stakes go beyond geopolitics. Israel is not just a strategic partner in trade and technology, it's also home to thousands of Filipino workers who benefit from unique labor opportunities in the Middle East. I sat down with Israel's ambassador to the Philippines, Ilan Flas, to discuss Israel's economic resilience, opportunities for Filipino workers, and how both nations can strengthen their partnership for mutual growth. Here are the highlights from that conversation. Tensions remain high in Gaza amidst a fragile ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. The Jewish state's economy remains, however, resilient. Known as the startup nation, it has solidified its position as a leader in technology, artificial intelligence, and cybersecurity, industries that continue to attract global investments despite geopolitical uncertainties. Ambassador Ilan Flas says strategic government policies have helped maintain economic stability to ensure that trade and business operations remain strong.
It's a real challenge, obviously, for any country, but it was good that we came into the war with solid and sound economy and economic policies, and that's very important. And we are giving different packages in order to assist. As you know, Israel is a global hub of innovation, a lot of startups and the technology community in Israel. So the Israeli government has also packages in order to assist the startups and the companies to continue in their innovations and research and development. In different ways in order to assist the small and medium enterprises within Israel, in the south, in the north. So it is challenging, but at the same time, even in the last year, we have seen still investments coming into Israel. We have seen more Israeli unicorns enter into the global market, and that's due to the really uniqueness of Israel as a company, as a country that brings so modern, relevant, and good technologies to the world. The relations have matured, have expanded, have deepened, if it is on the defense side, if it is on trade and economy, if it is on development cooperation, and the ongoing exchange on labor. And I think today we can do even much more. And what we are trying to do is really develop new programs, new areas of activities, you name it. If it is emergency preparedness, if it is agriculture, water, cybersecurity, etc. The potential is enormous. Israel offers a mindset, technologies, best practices, and we want to work with our Filipino partners in order to address the challenges that you and the Philippine people and Philippine government is facing here in the Philippines.
But Israel's connection with the Philippines goes beyond trade. More than 28,000 Filipinos are employed in Israel, mainly as caregivers and hotel staff. But what sets Israel apart from many other parts of the Middle East is that there, Filipino workers enjoy the same labor rights and benefits as their citizens, a rare privilege in the region. In Israel, Filipinos receive equal pay, access to health care, pension funds, social security, and overtime compensation, rights that are often unavailable or limited elsewhere.
Filipino workers in Israel are getting the same conditions as any Israeli worker. If it is pension fund, if it is health insurance, if it is overtime, all the rights like any other Israeli. And they feel so much at home.
As Israel looks beyond the war, the country is actively strengthening its business partnerships, and the Philippines is well positioned to benefit. With its limited natural resources, Israel has mastered smart farming and water conservation technologies, solutions that could help the Philippines address food security and climate-related challenges.
I think here, as I said, BPO, of course, the ICT, I think the AI is a growing area. But I would say also, I mentioned before, agriculture. The agriculture sector in the Philippines, and this is what actually, when I met President Marcos, and he asked me, Ambassador Ilan, please, what we need here from Israel is, number one, Israeli agriculture technologies to deal with the issue of food security and agricultural productivity. Number two is the area of water. And as you know, the country, Israel is a 50% dry land. 50% is desert. And still today, we don't have a shortage of water. Again, due to technology and best practices. The Philippines, a tropical country with a lot of rain, but there are issues of water. So it's all about water management. So working with water with the government here, and also bringing Israeli technologies which are from water treatment, water desalination, water conservation, smart water management systems, water prevention of water loss, etc.
For BNC, Maiki Oreta. We're taking a quick break. Please stay with us as we dive deep into the numbers and the narratives that matter most to your bottom line.
Magandang gabi, ako po si Pinky Webb.
At ako naman si Corina Sanchez Rojas.
Kombinasyong Corina Sanchez Rojas at Pinky Webb. Dalawang mamamahayag na subok sa tapang at talino.
Simulcast tayo sa DWAR, Abante Radyo at 94.7 Mellow BFM.
Mapapanood din tayo sa Abante Teletabloid sa SkyCable. Sa bawat issue may anggulo at ang balita may agenda.
Welcome back. Let's take a look at how bourses in Asia are faring in early trade. Following Wall Street's sharp sell-off overnight, I'm seeing a sea of red. The Nikkei 225 is lower by 2.3%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index down by 1.62%. Shanghai's Composite lower by 0.3%. And Singapore's Straits Times Composite down by as much as the Shanghai Composite lower by 0.3%. Here at home, let's take a look at how the Philippine Stock Exchange Index is doing. As of 10:15 this morning, the PSE Index is in the red as well, tracking the losses across Asia and the U.S. Following Trump's tariff threats on Mexico and Canada, its biggest trading partners. The PSE Index is down by 0.25% to 60.21. The broader All Shares Index is trading sideways with a negative bias, lower by a little less than 0.1% to 36.17. As for the sub-indices, I'm seeing a mixed picture. The financials and mining and oil counters are trying to hold on to those gains, whereas the industrial, holding firms, services, and property counters are in the red in early trade. And at the foreign exchange market, the peso, let's take a look at the peso. The peso opened at 57.83 from its previous close of 57.90. The two-year rehabilitation of EDSA, the country's most critical transport corridor, will have wide-ranging effects on businesses, supply chains, and on economic activity, with work set to begin on the northbound bus lane by March 24, followed by an 18-month southbound project. Companies relying on road transport, retail foot traffic, and daily commutes will need to adapt to potential delays and higher operating costs. A reinforced EDSA could eventually reduce vehicle maintenance costs, improve traffic flow, and boost productivity, making it easier for goods, services, and employees to move efficiently. However, in the near term, logistics expenses may rise, delivery timelines could lengthen, and businesses along the corridor may see lower foot traffic and sales. With a project expected to span multiple holiday seasons and peak business periods, companies will need to rethink operations, adjust delivery routes, and manage their costs. The challenge now is ensuring that the transition is managed smoothly with minimal disruption to economic activity.
Para po mabilis nga yung ating trabaho at matapos kaagad, we requested MMDA to allow us to work 24/7. Kaya po lahat ng ating mga contractors ay mag-start sila ng sabay-sabay, especially dun sa southbound dahil may 15 segments po tayo. Unlike dito sa northbound, one segment lang.
Senate Minority Leader Coco Pimentel calls for an investigation into the repeated collapse of bridges nationwide, raising questions about infrastructure safety, accountability, and public funds. This comes after the Cabagan-Santa Maria Bridge in Isabela collapsed just a month after undergoing a 1 billion peso retrofitting project. ACT Teachers Party List Representative Franz Castro is also set to file a resolution in the House underscoring the need for a systematic review of construction standards, maintenance practices, and accountability measures. Lawmakers are now demanding answers. Who is responsible for these failures and what changes must be made to prevent more collapses? Beyond safety, the business community is also watching with infrastructure reliability crucial for trade, transport, and economic growth. On another front, the Philippine Charity Sweepstakes Office, or PCSO, partners with DFNN Incorporated to launch Lottomatic, a new platform aimed at expanding access to lottery games. DFNN, a technology solutions provider specializing in financial transactions and gaming systems, brings its expertise in secure platform development to this initiative. The Lawtomatic system will utilize portable point-of-sale devices, enabling betting in remote areas and expanding the reach of PCSO's lottery services. This move aims to boost lotto sales, strengthen funding for the government's charitable programs, and reduce participation in illegal lottery operations. Now, Senate President Chiz Escudero stands firm, saying that there will be no changes to the timeline of the impeachment trial against Vice President Sara Duterte, despite growing pressure for a special session to expedite the proceedings. Hannah T. has the details.
Senate President Chiz Escudero is open to Senate Minority Leader Coco Pimentel's offer to help draft the impeachment rules for VP Sara Duterte's trial. He recognizes Pimentel as one of the few lawyers in the Senate.
Hindi ko kinakaila. Bar top notcher si Coco, tama siya. Isa siya sa kukonting abogado dito sa Senado.
But he clarifies, Pimentel will not lead the drafting process. Pimentel had earlier said he was willing to spend time on the impeachment rules, but Escudero stresses that nothing is final. All proposals, including the creation of a subcommittee for the rules, must be approved by the plenary and the impeachment court. Escudero has also informed senators about the proposed impeachment trial calendar, which sets the start date for July 30. So far, he says there have been no objections.
Hindi naman nila kailangan magpaabot dahil nga ito'y pagpapasahan ng impeachment court pag ito'y nakonbina.
When the Senate convenes, House prosecutors will present the impeachment complaint before the plenary, following standard Senate procedure.
Dahil nga, kinopya natin yung rules natin sa Estados Unidos at yon ang kanilang practice.
Still, some groups are calling for a special session to fast-track the trial. But Escudero sees no reason to alter the timeline.
Magsisinungaling ako, magpapanggap ako, mag-aarte-arte ako na kunwari may urgent legislation at magre-request ako ng special session. Samantalang alam nyo naman, ang dahilan lang ay yung clamor daw o yung ingay daw. Hindi naman yata tama yon.
Escudero stands firm. His proposed schedule for the impeachment trial will follow the law and remain set for July. Hannah T., Bilyonaryo News Channel.
With the dry season approaching, authorities warn of a possible surge in fire incidents, urging the public to take extra precautions to avoid potential disasters. Paolo Barcelon has the details.
The first Monday of Fire Prevention Month is welcomed with 7 fire incidents, one of which struck homes in Sitio Masagana, Purok 11, Alabang, Muntinlupa City. Fire officials estimate the damage from the blaze at 2 million pesos. In an interview with Bilyonaryo News Channel's At the Forefront, Fire spokesperson Senior Superintendent Annalie Atienza says electrical overload still remains the leading cause of fire.
We suggest na doon po talaga sa main plug po natin, main outlet, doon po tayo. And if it's a cell phone, meron naman yung alarm. So be responsible to set the alarm for probably an hour na charge na yan or something like that. Kasi meron din tayong mga kababayan na they settle for mga substandard because nga mura. Pero the effect is mas napapamahal pa and worse, may namamatay.
The BFP adds, often victims of fires are seniors and persons with disabilities. The Fire Bureau is doubling down on its awareness campaigns, this time with a video featuring John Arcilia.
Kadalasan po ang rooms natin, ang tulugan natin, sleeping area is second floor, which nagkakaroon ng problema when there are incidents like this. Nahihirapan silang i-save yung sarili nila. Kaya ang advice po ng BFP, as much as possible, you have their sleeping area sa ground floor para in case nga of emergency, madali din po silang maka-egress.
However, fire officials admit they still face challenges in responding to fire emergencies, especially in the provinces. 61 areas in the Philippines still don't have a fire truck or BFP personnel.
In every society or in every community, one fire truck is a big security na rin, para sa community. Naka-based tayo or naka-dependent tayo sa procurement. And when you say procurement, funding.
Their appeal to government, speed up procurement of fire trucks and recruiting additional firefighters to address shortfalls. The agency admits the country is not yet ready to respond to wildfires, just like the one in the U.S. earlier this year. They're hoping that the government grants them with helicopters because these can be useful during a fire or other emergencies and calamities. Paulo Barcelon, Bilyonaryo News Channel.
Trade tensions escalate as U.S. President Donald Trump confirms a 25% tariff on imports from Mexico and Canada effective Tuesday, with retaliatory tariffs expected on April 2nd. Trump says that the move will pressure both countries to tackle fentanyl trafficking and illegal immigration. But the announcement shook global markets, sending the S&P 500 down 2%. Businesses now face higher costs and potential disruptions to cross-border trade. These tariffs could impact automobiles, agriculture, and industrial goods, forcing companies to reassess supply chains and pricing. Economists warn that if tensions continue, the impact could spread to global trade, commodities, and currencies.
And I wanted to make it April 1st, but I didn't want to go April Fool's Day, because that costs a lot of money, but that one day. But so we're going April 2nd. But very importantly, tomorrow tariffs 25% on Canada and 25% on Mexico, and that'll start. So they're going to have a tariff. So what they have to do is build their car plants, frankly, and other things in the United States, in which case they have no tariffs.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says his country needs security guarantees for a real and lasting peace, a crucial step in ending the three-year war with Russia. In his Monday evening address, Zelensky emphasized the need for diplomacy following a weekend meeting with European allies to discuss a possible peace framework. This comes just days after his contentious talks with U.S. President Donald Trump at the White House, which ended without a clear resolution. Meanwhile, Trump announced that he will provide an update on the proposed Ukrainian minerals deal Tuesday night, a development that could influence future trade and investment decisions. And that's it for Business 360. I'm Maiki Oreta. Keep it here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel.